years old, and so she was born in Marietta, Georgia during the Jim Crow South and had a very difficult time, but took solace in singing, humming, moaning various Negro spirituals, and I heard quite a number of those during my childhood. One such Negro spiritual, "Oh Freedom," goes like this. Oh freedom, oh freedom, oh freedom over me. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. Stop, you put it into my time. Thank you. So, when I asked my mother about the passion with which she would sing that song, particularly about slavery, this is like in the 1970s, right, as I'm growing up. And I said, Mom, I mean, seriously, you're bringing so much emotion to that song in particular, why? And she would say, a slave is someone who is subservient to a dominant culture. Someone or a group of people whose culture, its importance, its significance, and its relevance is determined by another culture. Nikki, my darling, we are still slaves. So, if this is true, and my mama was right, and I believe that in many respects it is, we are absolutely blessed with a profoundly astute advocate who rebukes this notion with every fiber of her being, and that resolute advocate is Sadiqa Reynolds, who, on August 11, 2015, was named President and CEO of the Louisville Urban League, the first woman to hold such post. In her own right is a pioneer of social justice, having spent her entire career fighting for and representing the least of us, whether as a district court judge, chief of community building for our city, inspector general for the Commonwealth of Kentucky, assistant director of the Division for Public Works and Assets, or chief of staff for the Louisville Metro Department of Public Health. The rights of all people to live bountifully is a proposition that Sadiqa Reynolds has held dear for her entire career. Rights, abundant life, fairness, civility, all matter to her immensely. She is a civil rights savant. She has been touting the importance of jobs, justice, education, and health since I've known her. She's been touting that like a beating drum with steady cadence since the day that we met. So it only stands to reason that she now commits her life and her work to these doctrines. So, well, many of us in this room know firsthand that being black in this country is very hard. And if you don't know that firsthand, you certainly have heard that from somebody in this room, or likely somebody on TV, I don't know, Al Sharpton, maybe Joy Reid. And it's hard irrespective of where you live, whether you're in East Louisville or West Louisville, whether you make $20,000 a year or $200,000 a year, the common plight, the worries, the experiences, the emotion, the wondering when your humanity is going to be questioned, wondering at what point in the day someone is going to assign their narrative of your blackness to you, the exhaustion associated with having to battle back the relentless messages of unimportance and insignificance that black people face every single day, while always having to appear to be okay. I'm okay, right? Because I don't want to be labeled as angry, or the new corporate spin is devoid of intelligence emotionally. So the anger that's associated with our society's ability to even discuss white on black violence without it are always immediately being reminded of black on black violence, or better yet, our own roles in our deaths. We shouldn't have had the gun, shouldn't have had the toy gun, shouldn't have had the weed, shouldn't have had the cigarettes, shouldn't have been outside the store, shouldn't be in a broken down car, shouldn't have run from the police, shouldn't walk toward the police, shouldn't have reached for the wallet, shouldn't have talked, should have kept quiet, should have talked more. Shouldn't have worn a hoodie. Shouldn't have. That's the mantra that we hear. But against these realities, Sadiqa remains undaunted, not unmoved, but undaunted. The sister just ain't scared, y'all. She's emboldened and impassioned. She's not dissuaded, and in her role, the role that she was born to assume, leading our local urban league, she masterfully curates our collective consciousness against these fights and happily, willingly, tirelessly, unapologetically, and boldly serves as one of our most prolific voices for all that is right and wrong in Louisville's urban communities, and speaks directly to those who do right and wrong to the urban communities. She assures that the Urban League serves as a respite for our suffering and a source of remedy for our problems. She finds opportunities for us to just gather and talk with purpose and commiserate, and sometimes that's just all we need. Sometimes we just need to talk about the pain and the fear and the worries and the consternation without fear of interruption or judgment. Sadiqa, in so doing, in providing these opportunities, these moments for these gatherings, she has brought renewed life to that building at 1535 West Broadway. It's alive with palpable possibility and remedy and conversation, solutions, celebrations, affirmations, and support. And this only after just 1 year on the job. One of Sadiqa's favorite songs is I Was Here by Beyonce. The lyrics in part are these: I want to leave my footprint on the sand of time, know that there was something that meant something that I left behind. When I leave this world, I'll leave no regrets, leave something to remember so that they won't forget. The hearts I have touched will be the proof that I leave, that I made a difference and this world will see. I just want them to know that I gave my all, did my best, brought someone to happiness, left this world a little better just because I was here. And so because Sadiqa is here, we are all challenged in our togetherness and positioned to expect that black, white, Republican, Democrat, east, west, that if we crash and burn, we're going to crash and burn together, so let's be about the business of building bridges. Sadiqa reminds us that America has got to reckon with its record of hatred toward black people, and that we have been enslaved longer than we have been free, or ostensibly free, as my mama would suggest. And that the consequences that flow from that dynamic, the consequences that flow from that reality, the economic consequences, the societal consequences, the financial consequences, the cultural consequences are real and they are damaging. So we cannot just sit back and let folks talk to us about bootstraps, right? Because this suffering is by design. Sadiqa reminds us that we have to stand up and understand and not chuckle at or rebuke those with mental illnesses, that our bloodshed and violence in the communities can't be relegated to isolated sound bites devoid of context, and that violence in our community at anyone's hands is repulsive and vile. And because Sadiqa was here, we are reminded that we don't have the luxury of just bemoaning our mind. When huge deals like the food court and Walmart just fall apart, they just fall apart. So we have to figure out what happened and why, and we got to start telling some folks to shut up. Telling other folks to stand up and be heard. Sadiqa reminds us that we need to love our veterans and that our wonderful mayor can't be the only one touting the tenets of compassion, that we all have responsibility not just to do compassionate stuff, but to be compassionate people, especially against those who haven't received none. We are obligated to do that. And she also talks about how, when, where, and the sincerity with which we educate our kids is immensely important. And because Sadiqa was here, we're admonished to challenge our own belief systems about threats to the urban community, that white people are not the enemy, apathy is. And so not only does Sadiqa have a beautiful, wonderful, articulate, triumphant point of view around all of these principles, but so does our Urban League. Our Urban League as a system, as a resource, and we can count on it. We can count on it as a credible and stalwart advocate for what is right in this community. Reverend Cosby, I don't know if he's here. Reverend Cosby, where is it? About the kosher Rev. Reverend Cosby once said to Sadiqa that she personifies the best in Christian witness, with a heart and compassion for the least of us. To which Sadiqa aptly replied, "Thank you, Reverend Cosby, but I cuss too much to be a real good Christian." I wish I were better, and I wish I could do more faster, but I do love those I serve. So, stand to your feet, come on. And I want you to help me welcome this beautiful, tireless, badass servant who loves us as much as she as much as we love her, the wonderful president and CEO of the Louisville Urban League, Sadiqa Reynolds.
Jackson, what an introduction. I have like nothing left to say. And so next year, I guess we'll just make Nikki the keynote. See, when your friends introduce you, they just point out all the wonderful, she could have said a lot of horrible things. Thank you, God. I'll text her, I said, Nikki, can you send me the intro before? I just want to see what you're going to say. So, wow, thank you all so much. I really do appreciate you. It is such a pleasure to be here. I want to thank my staff, first of all. If the Louisville Urban League staff is in the room, can you please stand up and be seen? Alone. We are all in this together, and so I am so thankful for them and for their support. How about the board? Any of the board members here, if you could, please stand to be recognized. I always say he's the best board chair in the history of board chairs because he led the search committee that brought him here. I want to also thank our wonderful sponsors, Kentucky One Health. Thank you so much for all that you do. Ryan, you're wonderful. I do not know where there you are, right in front of me. So I lost my glasses 2 weeks ago. These are readers, so I can only see what's on this paper. I have no idea what y'all look like. Thank you. Also want to thank Cities United, Anthony Smith, for all of his wonderful support. The Casey Family Fund for their wonderful support. Gateway Health, I believe you're here, new to our community. We are excited to have you. And of course, as always, BB&T continues to stand with the Louisville Urban League today. So thank you all so much. And then, of course, our luncheon partner, the Federal Reserve Bank. Thank you, Nikki, so much for all that you do for this community. We really would not be able to make the impact if it wasn't for people like you and people like Yusuf who are willing to really share their stories. I know there was a lot of moving and people were serving food as the video was being played, but I hope you understand how powerful and gifted that young brother is. And I am excited to be the organization that was willing to put him on the payroll and give him a second chance. Who have been there for me. I have had a very interesting year. And so they are here today, some of them. Nikki Jackson, stand up for me for a second. Shanita Boucher, stand up for a second. Christy Lemire Robinson, Marlon Cole, Amy Traeger, Yvette Gentry. Like, this is who I call when the world is falling apart. This is why I don't fall apart. So thank you, sisters, for being here. Did I say that? Did she make it in? She had doctors. They were, and Betty. Betty is like my mother. Not really. She's not a mother. She parties too much. She's a real good friend. It's more than 70, and she's at every party I'm at. I don't know what this is. Anyway, let me stay focused. Martin Niemöller wrote, "First they came for the communists and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me and there was no one left to speak out for me. It is my pleasure to serve as president and CEO of the Louisville Urban League. I am proud of the work that we do and excited about what we will do in the future. What a year it has been. Since I talked with you last year, we've partnered with WLKY for 180 minutes of uninterrupted conversations on race in Louisville. We have another special that will be airing later this month. That's amazing because we have actually been critical of the media and the way that we have been portrayed, and they are stepping up. We've worked with Kentuckiana Works, Louisville Metro, and state government on Kentuckiana Bills, a partnership between the Louisville Urban League and other nonprofits like New Legacy and Jesus in the Job. We're trying to help men and women who want to get into apprenticeships programs. And we are working with labor because we remember that it was labor that helped build the middle class in this country. And we need to help build the middle class in this country again because other countries are outpacing us on growing their middle class. We've partnered with AT&T to spread the word about $5 to $10 high-speed Wi-Fi for SNAP participants located anywhere in Louisville where AT&T is available. That's important for job searches and studying for school. I've got a 4th and 6th grader, and there is not a day that goes by that they don't need a computer to help for homework. Just one more tool to help us close the achievement gap. And speaking of education, we have spent hours working with Commissioner Pruitt on creating the accountability system for the Every Student Succeeds Act. Our education director, Lawrence Wilbin, has traveled the country for ESSA boot camps, gaining the tools necessary to help our kids. We've hosted 350 educators in our redesigned education summit, with national speakers providing tools to help propel our educators forward. We brought in David Bates of Eagle Academy, Dr. Donna Ford of Vanderbilt University, and Rosalind Aiken from Carter G. Woodson in Lexington, because we see the writing on the wall. The education system as we know it is broken, but we don't just complain, we try hard to fix it. We've engaged with parents and their children. We've hosted chess nights and chess clubs. We've coordinated health screenings with hundreds of Louisvillians. We've continued a partnership with the Louisville Asset Building Coalition by providing a VITA site and support for tax preparation because we know how important income tax credit is for those who qualify. We partnered with the A. Philip Randolph Institute, the NAACP, and other community groups to transport voters to the polls, regardless of political party. And let me tell you something. You have not had a ride until you had to drive someone that you know is voting against your candidate. I do not know how Morgan Freeman did not drive Miss Daisy off the cliff. In other words, we are working our fingers to the bone to be the organization that you can trust with your investment, the organization that others want to partner with, and that the community can believe in. If it is about jobs, justice, education, health, or housing, then it is our business. So, with all of this work, we have made some friends, but if I'm being honest, we've made some enemies. Because freedom was never free. It always cost something. But I am more afraid of what God would do if I squander this assignment than I am about making friends. I know some of you have been exhausted by the election, and some of you are discouraged. Don't be. We've been through worse, and we've survived. And understand, it is not about an R or a D. What has been particularly difficult about 2016 is how much all of the negatives, particularly the tenor of the political discourse, seem to be so tied to race. Some argue that it was economics, maybe the chasm of disparity between the haves and the have-nots. But for Black Americans, it felt like racism. I certainly respect my friends who believe race was not an issue. But here is evidence that some of them.
Hail Trump! Hail our people! Hail victory! No one will honor us for losing gracefully. No one mourns the great crimes committed against us. For us, it is conquer or die. The mainstream media, or perhaps we should refer to them in the original German, Lügenpresse. It's not just that they are leftist and cucks. It's not just that many are genuinely stupid. Indeed, one wonders if these people are people at all. America was, until this past generation, a white country, designed for ourselves and our posterity. It is our creation, It is our inheritance, and it belongs to us.
You can stop that during World War II, but I do understand the repercussions. Louisville, we are not in a post-racial society. We have overcome a little, but we have reached no mountaintop. The work of the League is still urgent. We are an affiliate of the National Urban League, and our mission has been consistent. We've sat at the heart of trouble since our founding and provided life support to the disenfranchised. My friends at the Greater Louisville Project, led by Ben Reno Weber, tell me that when white unemployment hits 10%, we have a crisis. But during normal economic times, unemployment for blacks is well over 10%. The unemployment rate is low for everybody but us. About half of black children in Louisville are living in poverty, and right now the typical black household has just 6% of the wealth of their white counterparts. The racial wealth gap is widening. We talk about the numbers, but we don't always understand or even consider the policies and laws that have been put together to continuously subjugate people of color. Blacks have nearly 6 times the incarceration rates of whites. I am frustrated with crime, just as I know that you are. I am devastated with murders and children being placed at risk, growing up without their parents, being raised by grandparents in communities under siege by their own people. I am devastated by men, boys, and increasingly girls who seem not to value life, who kill, it seems, at will over minuscule things. But the narrative is that only black people are engaged in violence. That is a script with lines that read, "You are worthless," passed down through generations. It is just not true. Most of us are not murderers. We are not thugs. Most of us are trying to find and live the American dream. You had 109 murders. If you pay attention, you would think every victim and perpetrator was black. You know, I told you already, I told you last year, black on black crime is a fiction. White people kill white people, black people kill black people. You just kill who you're around. That's how it works. And so here in Louisville, 62 homicide victims have been black, 37 white, 8 were other. And of the homicide cases that have been closed, the suspects have been charged, have been 38 African Americans, 16 white, and 3 other. The numbers are horrible. There is something wrong in America. Black people complained long ago that the drug epidemic was a public health problem, that addiction was an illness.
Right.
But not until this latest rendition of heroin do we see that language become acceptable in the majority. Now we want every drugstore to have a remedy for heroin addiction, because now addiction is an illness. It always was. It's just that the face of addiction has changed. We love police. We have officers here today, and we know most of them are good. We just wonder if shoot to kill only applies to us.
As the man in the red shirt and shorts walks with his hands up to his car. He gets in and then emerges with this.
John!
Police officers immediately shout out a warning that he's armed, then take cover. Dave Street saw it as it happened.
He got out of his car and he's waving his gun around, pointing all around everywhere. He pointed at the helicopter. Okay? So, then boom! Was shot from the rifle.
The man went down, and for more than a half hour, police tried to convince him to move away from the gun.
And they couldn't approach him after they had him down because he still had the gun.
Finally, he got up from a seated position and walked to the shade of a nearby tree. Police slowly moved in and took him into custody.
Left to speak out. The Louisville Urban League is not against anybody. We are for equality. We are not for Democrats and against Republicans. We are simply for equality and equity. And we have now elected a new president. America has voted, and because I am an American, I am praying for his success. But I find my heart full of questions. When I hear the slogan, "Make America Great Again," what does that look like for the people we serve? And when was it that America was so great? And great for who? Let's ask Native Americans if America was great at her founding. Was she great in the 18th and 19th centuries when it was legal to own another human being? In 1831, when Nat Turner and his compatriots were slaughtered. In 1857, when the Chief Justice said to Dred Scott that a black man has no rights that a white man is bound to respect. In 1859, when she hanged John Brown, a white man who said of slavery, "I have a system to destroy, and I have no time to waste." Was she great when education was illegal for blacks? Was she great in the 60s, when rather than accept blacks as equal, 1860, when rather than accept blacks as equals, American citizens decided to secede from America? When was she great? Was she great after the Civil War, when the terrorist groups like the KKK were founded to keep her former slaves in a state of subservience and fear? Was she great in 1896, when the High Court delivered Plessy versus Ferguson, the people saying that people could be separate but also equal, and legalized Jim Crow? Was she great in the early 20th century, when lynchings and terror and inequality were so pervasive that they mandated the founding of the Black Women's Club movement, the NAACP, and yes, I am proud, the National Urban League? Was America great in the 50s, when Emmett Till was murdered? What about in 54, when the Southern states responded to Brown v. Board by reincorporating Confederate symbols into their state flags? Please do remember that Georgia changed its state flag in 1957 in direct response to Brown versus Board of Education. So don't you tell me that a Confederate symbol has no meaning. Was America great when black veterans of World War II came home and couldn't get jobs, and German prisoners of war were treated better than them? The Germans thought it amusing that the black soldiers even fought for America. Was Louisville great when she redlined our community and created the challenges we all now live with in West Louisville? Was she great in the 70s up until 91, when the Pendennis Club wouldn't allow Jews and blacks? Forget the moral argument. I cannot win it. I will not argue it. I will let God deal with morality. But let's deal with the economics of it. If you have, and I do not, eventually I will come for yours. If you run a company and you have need for labor, it is in your interest to significantly invest in workforce development and mentors. If you believe education is the key, the great equalizer, then you create an education system that works. And when you realize it's a mess, you move quickly to fix it. We must move with urgency. It is not a sustainable model to devalue a human being to the point where they have nothing and nothing to lose. When America is cut, we all bleed. But because of our resilience and because of you, we are still here. And because you're here today, I do not feel hopeless. It is not the beginning, and chances are, I'm praying about this, that we are not at the end. But together, we can do our part. At the Louisville Urban League, we are working every day. We've had 100% of our project-ready graduates be accepted into college. We've even seen one young man go, yes, after that. We've even seen one young man go from failing grades when he started the program 4 years ago to acceptance into Morehouse, Ricky Jones' alma mater. Foundation. We put health navigators on the ground in West Louisville to help community connect to services needed, because we understand that the life expectancy is shorter in West Louisville than the rest of the city. And with the help of the Brown Foundation, we have employed Second Chance Citizens to do outreach, to try to reach people where they are and to connect them to jobs and educational opportunities. And in fact, we have connected 43 people in the zones of hope, zip codes, to employment. We help to support men transitioning from prison even into college. In our Street Academy program, we've seen a reduction in disciplinary actions and increased school attendance by the young boys participating. We have also been the safe place to land when one of their parents committed suicide or when one was being sexually abused. We have been a shoulder for the community when our neighbors, sons, and daughters have lost their lives to senseless violence. We have created community space for collaboration, strategic planning, and emotional healing. We've worked with our community partners like Diane Brown to develop a support group for women. The men's group is coming. We have offered support to local law enforcement when it was appropriate, and we have been critical of the race-basing that some in our local law enforcement community have engaged in. But we did not just offer criticism, we helped to provide solutions. We brought in national experts to train our corrections officers on implicit bias. We even provided a safe place for implicit bias training for corporate and nonprofit leaders. In other words, we have provided leadership that speaks to the most important issues of the day. We have used our voices without fear of retribution because we understand that the cost of silence is too high. We are too aware of the examples of the proliferation of gangs and illegitimate leaders when smart, courageous leaders have been silent and bought. We know our history. So, we need you. You need us. We know how to make America great. That's why you're here. Through Rebound, we've rehabbed and sold homes to 6 families in Louisville in the past year. All of those homes were vacant and abandoned until then. Because of your support, we are slowly making a difference in rates of home ownership and the value of homes in certain parts of the community. But we need real investment so that poor neighborhoods can be rebuilt. And just on a side note, because I just want to throw it in, shame on those folks in Norton Commons who are against affordable housing. Shame on them. We don't just place families in housing. We provide housing counseling to 2,000 clients a year. Financial education this year to 858. Home ownership training to 231 clients. We've helped resolve 221 mortgage delinquencies. The value of the homes that we have helped to save, well over $25 million. This is how you move people from poverty to wealth building. We have provided, go on, clap for that. We have provided job training, preparation to 2,592 individuals because we understand that investment in education is great, but if our parents have no hope, students really can't learn. We've helped 208 people get jobs, and I think that number's low. But until you've done it, you do not understand the human resources that it takes to make that happen. We have done all of this with your help because you believed in us, because you understand that our success will lead to Louisville being the greatest city on earth. And yes, I know, you believe like I do, that America indeed has the potential to be great. And not just for some of us, but for all of us. So as the song says, I am proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. But if I don't speak out, there will be no one left to speak for me.